what for someone who's going through their military transition, who is or really any life transition where they're feeling like they are leaving under circumstances that they cannot control, and they're being forcibly separated from an identity that they didn't want to be separated from. What advice would you give them?
The advice I would give them is I'm gonna share a little story with that actually.
Okay.
Uh, while I was a student, I was sharing God with someone, and as I was talking with them, they couldn't reply to me. It was the weirdest thing. Like, I asked them a deep question, and they would just sit there, like stare at me, and kind of look around, like, "Are you okay, man? Like, what's going on?" And finally, over time, he goes, "Uh, I just never had like a deep conversation like this, and I don't know how to talk or say things or what to say." Because he was just always a living surface level. All right, next thing's this, next thing's this, next thing's this. You have to go deep and ask the whys. You have to go deep in that. I mean, like, even an example of that, people talk about what's like, was it evolution? Well, stuff like, okay, well, where the heck did matter come from? I think in everything we do, we have to go all the way back, which I'm pretty sure you guys are doing that, like in helping people in the military, like the big funnel, go all the way back to the why. You need to find that, because if you look for everything else, you never find the why. Your foundation's broken. Now, my foundation, I think everyone's foundation can only actually be rooted if your why is on with your creator, the designer, knowing God, being washed clean and fit in, back together with him through Jesus. But regardless if you believe that or not, you have to find the why.
I think that for people listening, like maybe you believe in God, maybe you don't. But I guess a better way to generalize it almost for more people to agree with what you're saying is, would you agree with like you need to ground your identity in a set of principles that are not tied to a work, a job, or even an organization? Like, would you agree with that? Yeah.
Yes, I would
Okay.
agree that it has to be rooted in something that is not able to be changed
Yeah.
by others.
Yeah, because I mean, even for you, like you went from being a West Point cadet who was crushing it to a small business owner, which I mean we didn't really talk about, which is crazy. Then you were a student in RIT. You were going to live in Africa. You were going to live in Africa twice, and now you're actually building this church in Rochester in one of the more dangerous. Like that's a lot of context shifting for somebody to in like 5 years. Like most people, if I told them, hey, by the way, your life is gonna go in radically different directions 6 times in 5 years, they like that would just be so stressful.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that your life is a real testimony to that, where at some point you just can't, like, if you don't ground your identity in a job or a thing that you do or an organization like this organization, then it really allows you to context switch rather quickly. um
Yeah.
so
That's good. When I explained before, like the time when I was moving around a lot, I realized it was for 14 months. Uh, I was at a different place on average every 2 weeks, and I stayed nowhere for more than a month during that time. And so, yeah, you're right. There's all these things were changing externally, but internally, my identity, who I was, who I was walking with or in, no part of that changed at all.